Thanks for tuning in to the Bullet Points Roundtable. As you can see, we always like to get a nice round table for these roundtables. Today we kind of want to discuss a little bit of the idea. We've been working on doing some 72-hour bug out bag scenarios, and we wanted to just kind of go in front of the camera here, not really scripted, or kind of more having an open discussion about the idea between bug in and bug out scenarios, and kind of what it means to bail out, and just talking about some ideas or philosophies we have when it comes to a natural disaster, something like that. How to take care of your family and your friends and your community the best. And that's pretty much it. So we want to get into that a little bit today. What I've learned being out here for the 72-hour bug out shoot that we've done is the fact that no matter how prepared you think you are, even for one person, you're never really fully prepared. And I agree with the guys that go out there and girls who practice bailout scenarios and just survival in general, is that so much of it is constantly evolving. Whether the stuff you're packing, the things you're bringing, looking at these two guys' packs and seeing what they brought, there were things I never even thought of to bring, or never even thought of to pack, or whether I'd really need it or not. So you'll see tons of videos, instructional videos, people sitting around like we are right now and talking about it. But really what you have to do is do the research, do the hard work yourself, and test the stuff at home and see what works best for you. Because you might see somebody online doing something that's a great fire starter that they have maybe a trick to or a secret of, or that they've been practicing for a long time. Usually it takes lots of practice, to where you see them spark something once, like some kind of tinder, goes right up, no problem, they start a fire in 20 seconds. But you don't see the prep of them laying the foundation, clearing out a spot, making sure it's fed oxygen. There's a lot that goes into it, and having a positive mindset to be able to do that too. A lot of it's psychological. So we're just kind of going to get into that a little bit today, as far as just talking about bug in versus bug out. What scenarios would be good to where you need to bug out, and what scenarios would be good where whether there's a natural disaster or some sort of epidemic to where you need to stay in or leave, all that kind of stuff. So
I think it's a really good topic to bring up, and certainly spending 72 hours living off of one backpack was a pretty eye-opening experience. I fall into the category of folks that for the longest time thought that, hey, if there's a natural disaster, I'll grab my pack, my family grabs their packs, and we go. But actually having to live off the contents and only the contents of that bag for 3 days really was an eye-opening experience. You just cannot fit enough stuff in those things, and nor can you carry enough to sustain yourself for any lengthy amount of time. So if you've been guilty of, and I'll be the first to admit that I have, but if you've been guilty of kind of thinking of hey, if there's a natural disaster, an earthquake or a fire or civil unrest, whatever it is, and I'm just going to grab my stuff and go live in the mountains for a couple months and let things cool down, you're going to be hard pressed unless you're a mountain man or you're really, really used to that sort of thing. So I think practical application is really, really important. Getting out there and testing the gear that you use, getting familiar with it, because the last thing that you want to do is get out somewhere, and when your life is depending on it or other lives are depending on it, have your equipment fail or not have the knowledge to use it properly. So I think it's really, really important. And again, back to the eye-opening experience of having to live off of a pack for 3 days. I can't say it enough times. You cannot pack enough things in one backpack to sustain you for an amount of time. So I'm really a big believer in bugging in. I think that if you're in the right location, or you're able to secure the right location and get to it, you're going to stand a much, much better chance of long-term survival in any kind of ongoing disaster scenario. You can, the fact of the matter is, you can store a lot more food, you can store a lot more equipment in a house or a cabin, or pool with friends, stay with relatives, whatever it is, than you can just trying to fit everything into one pack or even one car. That's my experience anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Like both these guys said, it's we all had different different items that we tested out. We all brought. I didn't think to bring certain things where they were lacking in certain areas where I had thought of. It's just, can't stress it enough. Test your gear, so you know what works and you know what doesn't. A lot of the stuff that I tested out during this trip was first time I've ever tried it, and like the that BioLite camp stove.
Mm-hmm.
Took a little longer to light than I thought. I thought I was just gonna light right up, but there's some it's an art. You gotta kind of work at it and know how to get the fire started correctly, and but once you know how to use your gear, it's so much more simple to use. And another thing too is, if you're thinking about packing for your family, like your wife and your kids, I would actually try to get them involved, because if I were to try to pack for my wife, it would be, I'm only thinking from my perspective of what she would need. There's probably 20 things that she would have in her bag that, I probably would completely just be oblivious to. So, try to get, your family members involved in that, just so you can, it's just a second perspective on, the type of gear you need and what's going to be needed, if you are going to be bugging out. And, like you said, bugging in is definitely I'd say a bigger advantage, depending on where you are, because there's the ability to store that much more food, water, supplies. Your house is, that could be the difference between life and death if you're storing it all in a 3-day bag. If you don't get to where you need to go within those 3 days, you could be in a lot of trouble.
I think it's good, like what both the guys were saying too, and something we were talking about earlier off camera, was the fact that I see some guys on YouTube, or some people in general, who that I talk to about survival stuff, and it's a fun topic to sit around and talk to fellow survivalists about, I'm still a student of it. I'm still learning, and I want to make that really clear. I don't see myself as an expert whatsoever, not nearly. Even the guys that I know that I would consider expert, they still consider themselves a student and learning and evolving and constantly changing. But it's really funny though, because you'll hear some people talk about a bug out scenario, and they kind of make it sound like they're just going to take a pack into the woods and be like, oh yeah, I'll be out there for let things pass for 6 months and then see how I'm doing. Okay, dude, you are not going to do that. Just giving you a little heads up there. If you are someone who is an avid outdoorsman, someone who's maybe done special ops, or been in military where they're out there surviving on their own for weeks at a time, dude, more power to you. That's awesome. You have skills that I don't possess. So congratulations, that's awesome. You're a winner. For the common person who says that, like, oh, I'm just gonna take a bag out there and do whatever. Number one, I can guarantee they've not tested anything that's in their bag. Number two, they probably haven't really packed their bag. Number three, they haven't studied probably what they need or what they should be bringing. And number four, it's just there's so much not just physical but mental and psychological that goes into it too. We were just out here for 3 days, and it feels like a long time. You're burning tons of calories, you're exhausted, you don't sleep well, and that's just 3 days. That's like nothing compared to what some people do. So it's a good way. How I'm gonna pack, what I took from this is how I'm gonna pack my bug out bag at home, or one that I store in my vehicle, is to have enough food, enough water, enough supplies to get me back to my family or where our rendezvous point is. So my bug out bag is really just going to get me to a bug in situation. And that's what I've kind of taken away from this, is that I don't want to be bugging out in the mountains with amateur 1 and 2 up there, while they're slowly withering away. I would rather be, and of course each disaster or something like that, it depends on what your situation is, but I would rather be able to be in a centralized location with a community of people where we can all help each other out. Since the 3 of us were together, some of us didn't pack things that the other people needed, we were able to help each other out. And that just proved that, if we're in the wild, some of us couldn't start a fire right away or effectively. Some of us didn't have a change of clothes. Some of us didn't have, whatever it is. So there's a lot of things that go into it, where the more people you surround yourself with, family and friends that you trust and you can rely on, the better your chances are that you guys will not only get through it surviving, but you'll probably be a lot more comfortable and safe. So that's one thing I learned.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, the 2 is 1 and 1 is none mentality really comes into play, and that goes, certainly carries over to being in a group setting. There are skills that some will possess that others won't. There are, different knowledge bases. There's different perspectives. especially if you're bugging out with a family, you've got small children. You guys that are watching, you may not think about things like diapers and wipes, whereas your wife might, or vice versa. So there's a lot of things that everybody brings to the table in a group scenario. You just need to make sure that everybody's participating. I think that's one of the common things that folks may fall into or fall victim of, is the fact that, oh well, I'm stocking up for everybody, and then you get a deadbeat in-law or something like that wants to hop on board and basically use up all your supplies but not contribute anything. So it's really important that everybody has kind of the same mindset, the same mentality, and everybody's working towards a common goal, rather than just trying to carry the burden of 20 people on your back. So I think the group setting is huge. Again, different perspectives, different backgrounds, different skill sets. Having that community setting is really going to help in not only preparedness ahead of time, but ongoing defense, ongoing chores, duties. There's a lot that everybody can bring to the table separately that that will collectively impact the group.
And then just one more thing too is for this 72-hour pack review that we just recently did, from what I'm taking away from that is going to be a great get home bag. Mm-hmm. So I can get home to my family, and I know for a fact what things I'm going to be putting in there. I'm just going to probably be something I keep in my car. It's going to be something that's not, I don't want it to look too tactical or anything to where somebody looks through the window, they say, oh, that guy's get home bag or bug out bag. He's probably got some goodies in there. I just want it to look like maybe a little backpack or something. Have some running shoes in there, some change of socks, some water, a little bit of food, and some batteries or something. That'll be a great way. If I'm because where I work, it's not terribly close to my house, so it'll be quite a walk. But that'll at least prepare me to get home to get home safely to my family, and then we can move on out or make whatever plans we need to make from there on out.
So hopefully you guys can take away something from this. We just want to do a fun little round table. This is stuff we talk about all the time, and just kind of trade ideas of philosophy, systems that we have, whether it's bug in, bug out. There's so many schools of thought, and I think what we all share in common is the fact that, don't take our word for things, or don't take other people's word for things as absolute truth. Go out there and test stuff for yourself. Test equipment you want to use, test things you want to pack. Lug around the pack, see how heavy it is. Try out sleeping bags, see if they're really 30-degree sleeping bags. See if a fire starter tinder can actually get your fire going. Just things like that. Like you said too, packing things in a get home bag for a vehicle, where instead of getting too tactical with it and putting in tomahawks and laser guided missiles or something, put in stuff like, oh, I need a pair of running shoes and some chewing gum so I can keep my mouth salivating, so I don't get too dry if I'm walking a long ways. Putting snacks in there so you keep your carbohydrates up. Just little things like that I think too many people, including myself, I get too caught up in the camping mindset or tactical mindset, and just don't think about everyday items that I'll need. I almost forgot chapstick for the 72-hour shoot we did. That was one of the last things I packed, the morning of that we were leaving. And just things like that, where you go, yeah, if I have chapped lips and I'm trying to survive, it's not going to kill me, but that's really going to be horribly uncomfortable. I need my lips to be soft and supple. No, but little things like that, where it's not a necessity, but it's a creature comfort, and those things help you psychologically, which is half the battle when it comes to survival, is keeping your hopes up and keeping your chin up. And if you have things that help you along the way, even if it's a small, light little nothing that comforts you, then that's what you need. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, though. We'll have a lot more roundtables coming in the future, and we'll try to do this a little bit more often. But thanks again for tuning in.